So, you've been denied Social Security disability benefits. First thing you need to know, you are definitely not alone. But what if I told you there's a way to decode this whole appeals thing and actually turn that denial into a win? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Let's get right into it.
Okay, look at this number, 60 to 70%. That is staggering. That's the denial rate for disability claims once you get to the hearing level. Think about that, up to 7 out of every 10 people who appeal their case, they lose. So the stakes, they're incredibly high, and that's why you absolutely have to understand the new rules of the game.
So that just begs the question, right? Why is it so hard to win? I mean, shouldn't having a really severe condition and a compelling story be enough? Well, it used to be, but not anymore. The entire playbook, I mean the whole thing, for winning one of these appeals has completely changed.
And here's the turning point. It all happened back in 2017 with a major rule change. Just one update, but it was so big that it made all the old strategies, well, pretty much useless. So if you're working with advice that's older than that, you could be setting yourself up to fail before you even walk into that hearing room.
So let's look at the old way versus the new way. Before 2017, there was this thing called the treating physician rule, and honestly, it was king. You could get a strong letter from a doctor you'd been seeing for years, and that letter would get what's called controlling weight. It could literally decide the whole case for you. But now, that's all gone. It's a level playing field. Your doctor's opinion is now just one piece of the puzzle, and it's evaluated based on 2 and only 2 really important factors.
And those 2 factors, they are everything. Seriously. They're called supportability and consistency. I want you to just forget everything else you think you know for a minute, because understanding these 2 ideas, that's the key. It's the secret to figuring out what the judge, the administrative law judge, is actually looking for when they open your file.
And check this out, this really drives the point home. When a judge is looking through all your medical evidence, something like 90% of their entire decision comes down to just those 2 things, supportability and consistency. It's no exaggeration. In today's world, those 2 things are your case. Okay, so let's break them down. First up, supportability. The easiest way to think about this is as internal proof. It's all about what's happening inside one doctor's opinion. See, it's not enough for your doctor to just say, yeah, you have these limitations. They have to explain why. They have to back it up with their own hard evidence, their clinical notes, what they found in an exam, the results from tests they ran. Is the proof for their opinion right there in their own records? If it is, boom, that's supportability. All right, on to the second pillar, consistency. If supportability was internal proof, think of this one as external proof. This is where the judge zooms out and looks at your entire case file. They're asking, does this doctor's opinion line up with everything else? Does what your physical therapist says match what your specialist says? And importantly, does what you say about your daily life match up with the limits your doctor wrote down? If all the pieces of your story fit together perfectly, you've got a consistent case, and that is a strong case. Okay, so now we know what the judges are looking for, right? Supportability and consistency. So where do you actually prove all this stuff? Well, let's talk about what is, without a doubt, the single most important document in your whole file. It's called the Residual Functional Capacity Form, or just RFC. And listen, this is not just another form to fill out. This thing is the blueprint. It's the document that translates your medical reality into the specific language that Social Security understands and uses to make decisions. I mean, this quote really says it all. In today's process, the RFC isn't just a nice thing to have. It's the linchpin. It's what holds everything else together. It's the form that spells out in black and white exactly what you can still do. How long can you sit? How much can you lift? Can you stay focused? A solid RFC is the central pillar of your entire appeal, period.
And this, right here, is where the rubber meets the road. Just look at the difference. On one side, you have a weak statement, something like, patient can't lift heavy objects. That's so vague, a judge is just going to ignore it. But look at the strong statement. Cannot lift more than 10 pounds per a dynamometer test. See that? It's specific. It's tied to real, objective data. It's powerful. Same thing for concentration or using your hands. Vague gets you nowhere. Data-backed gets a judge to sit up and pay attention.
All right, so we know what the judge wants to see, and we know the RFC is the place to show it. But how do you actually go about building a case file that's so strong it's basically undeniable? Let's walk through 3 key strategies. We're going to focus on your doctor's statement, how you talk about your daily activities, and how to use statements from other people. First up, let's talk about your doctor. The worst thing you can do is just hand them a form and say, hey, can you check some boxes for me?
That is a recipe for disaster. A persuasive statement from your doctor needs these 5 things. They need to explain, not just check boxes. They've got to tie your limitations back to objective tests, MRIs, EMGs, stuff like that. A good statement shows how your symptoms got worse over time. It shows the contrast, like here's what I could do before and here's what I can do now. And it even tackles the tricky stuff, like explaining why you're in so much pain even if your x-rays look normal.
Okay, next up, how you describe your daily life. And let me tell you, this is a classic trap that so many people fall into. The way you talk about your everyday activities can be a double-edged sword. It can either cut your own case to ribbons, or it can be a powerful tool that proves just how limited you really are. It all comes down to the details.
Just look at this. It's so clear. If you say, I shop for groceries, the judge hears, I'm fine. But what if you reframe it? What if you say, I manage to shop once a week, but only for about 20 minutes? I have to lean on the cart like a walker, and when I get home, I'm so exhausted I have to rest for a half hour. See? That paints a completely different picture. It shows the how. It shows the struggle. That's how you turn something that sounds bad for your case into a huge asset.
And finally, do not underestimate the power of statements from people who aren't doctors. We're talking about family, old bosses, maybe someone from your church. Now, they can't give a medical opinion, of course, but what they can do is provide powerful proof of consistency. The best letters from them focus on stuff they can actually see, the before and after changes in you. They can talk about specific times you tried to do something and couldn't. This stuff helps humanize your file and make sure limitations feel real to a judge, not just words on a page.
Okay, we've talked a lot about what to do. Now let's do a quick lightning round on what not to do. We're going to run through 5 critical mistakes that can absolutely sink a case that you should have won. Think of this as your final checklist to make sure you don't sabotage all your hard work.
Mistake number 1. The blank check RFC. You know what I'm talking about. It's a form your doctor filled out that's just a bunch of check boxes. There's no explanation, no data, no context. To a judge, a form like that has 0 weight. It's completely unsupported and it'll get tossed aside without a second thought.
Mistake number 2 is submitting stale medical records. Look, if your latest evidence is more than, say, 2 or 3 months old, a judge can just decide it's not relevant to how you are today. You have got to keep that file fresh with recent treatment notes right up to the day of your hearing.
Number 3, we just talked about this one, but it's so important I'm saying it again. Describing your daily activities without qualifying them. If you just say you do normal stuff without explaining the pain, the struggle, the help you need, or how long it takes, you're basically shooting your own credibility in the foot. Every single activity needs context.
And finally, a 2-for-1 of procedural but absolutely fatal errors. Number 4 is missing the evidence deadline. Simple as that. And number 5 is ignoring a bad report from Social Security's own doctor. If they send you to an exam and the report is weak or wrong, you have to push back on it. Not doing so is just a massive missed opportunity to control the story of your case.
So here's the bottom line, and this is the most important part. Yeah, the typical success rate is pretty grim, maybe 30 to 40%. But that does not have to be your story. It's not your destiny. By avoiding these common mistakes and really truly building a case around supportability and consistency, your odds can skyrocket to over 70%. You have the power to dramatically change the outcome here.
And so that leaves us with one final, really important question that I want you to ask yourself. After everything we've just gone over, take a good hard look at your own file. Is your evidence just a random pile of papers, or is it a carefully built, powerful argument designed specifically to win under these new rules? Think about it.